All right. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the media. On behalf of the National Democratic Congress, I welcome you to our headquarters for this all-important press conference. We are grateful for your continuous collaboration and cooperation with us in our collective struggle to consolidate and build a prosperous Ghana. We have invited you here this afternoon, friends from the media, to formally respond to some irresponsible and frivolous attacks that the New Patriotic Party, through some of its functionaries, have been heaping on the person of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama over factual comments he made during his recent thank you tour of the 5 northern regions of Ghana. As you may be aware, last Tuesday, President John Dramani Mahama wrapped up the first phase of his thank you tour, which took him to 5 regions in the northern sector of the country. The tour is designed to convey his deep appreciation personally to the millions of Ghanaians who voted for him across the country, and even those who may not have voted for him, but deemed it necessary to enhance Ghana's democracy through their participation in the electoral process. Mr. Mahama, whilst on the tour, also took time to engage in media interviews, which he commented on a number, during which he commented on a number of issues of national importance. Among others, President Mahama decried the mismanagement of the economy and the unsustainable debt hole the Akufo-Addo government has plunged the country into, and the resultant economic hardships emanating from their imposition of several nuisance taxes on the good people of Ghana. He also lamented the rising spate of corruption in government and the nonchalance that has attended the subject in the last 5 years. He observed that the Akufo-Addo MPP government was simply unwilling to account for their stewardship and was not motivated to fight corruption, which has led to large-scale looting and abuse of the public purse. It had become obvious in the circumstance that the only way to exact any measure of accountability is to vote out the MPP after their 8-year tenure in 2024, which will be in keeping with established electoral trend since 1992. In fact, President Mahama echoed the sentiments of the vast majority of Ghanaians who feel scandalized by the unbridled corruption and plain thievery that has become the hallmark of the Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government. The alarming scale of sleaze and corruption under this government is such that Ghanaians cannot wait to exact accountability by voting out the New Patriotic Party after their 8-year tenure in 2024. Anything short of that will spell doom for the public purse, which will be subjected to further systematic abuse should their mandate be renewed beyond 2024. Clearly, these factual statements made by President Mahama have hit the bull's eye. Our detractors in the MPP are dazed and agitated by the factual statements His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, made, because they know that the former president spoke nothing but the truth. It is obvious that they are very worried, about how President Mahama is exposing the true character of President Akufo-Addo, a man who rode on the back of a self-proclaimed propaganda of incorruptibility into power, only to turn around and supervise the most obscene abuse of the public purse in the history of this country. First to respond was the MPP's communications director, Yaboabian Samoa, who staged a performance reminiscent of the heydays of Comical Ali, the legendary Iraqi information minister, infamous for his denial of very obvious facts and truths. Mr. Samoa inexplicably claimed that the excruciating economic hardships Ghanaians are going through has only been spoken into place by President Mahama, and that it was not being felt by Ghanaians. According to him, he says that President Mahama is going around the country creating a false perception about hardships and that there is no hardship in Ghana. In other words, according to Mr. Boabian Samoa, all the taxes introduced by this government since 2017 and the rampant increases in fuel prices and every other commodity on the market leading to hardships in the country are just the words of President Mahama. Ladies and gentlemen, I must say that Mr. Boaben's comical display is as amusing as it is disturbing. It is amusing because it demonstrates the willingness of this government to trivialize the suffering of the people. And it is disturbing because it shows that the MPP and their leaders have completely detached themselves from the very harsh economic conditions of Ghanaians and chosen to dwell in a delusional bubble. Clearly, they are living in their own world of luxury and comfort, far removed from the realities in the country today. It bears reminding the Akufo-Addo Bawumia government that the current economic difficulties of Ghanaians are not the product of any imaginary or delusional fantasy of members of the opposition. The economic hardships Ghanaians from all walks of life are experiencing today are the direct effects of the mismanagement of the economy through reckless squandering of scarce resources to secure re-election in 2020, which has left our finances in shambles. The excessive and reckless borrowing of the Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government has ensured that we are barely able to service our debts, pay the salary of public sector workers, and have anything significant left to meet critical expenditure. This is why over half a dozen different taxes were introduced in the 2021 budget alone to plug the hole that have been created in the economy as a result of their recklessness. These taxes, coupled with other bad policies of the government, have conspired to increase prices of fuel, food commodities, building materials, and cost of living in general to unbearable proportions without any commensurate increment in incomes. And ladies and gentlemen, you can attest to this fact. We are all Ghanaians. We know the conditions that we are living in. If we are comfortable, no political leader, just by his mere words, can plunge us into hardships. The fact that many Ghanaians today are complaining about high cost of living and their standard of living that keeps on worsening shows that that is a reality Ghanaians are going through. Today, if you check the prices of commodities that Vice President Bawumia used to use for his Malata market economic analysis, you will realize that indeed Ghanaians are suffering. Because a gallon of petrol, which used to sell at about 14, 15, 16 Ghana cedis in December 2016 when we were leaving office, is today selling at almost 30 Ghana cedis. Today, the CD which was selling at just about 4 Ghana cedis when we were leaving office is selling at about 6 cedis, 10 pesos. And importers and exporters are crying. If you check building materials, for example, a bag of cement that used to sell at about 27 Ghana cedis in 2016 is today being sold at about 52, 53 Ghana cedis. In fact, in some parts of the country, it is even being sold at 54 Ghana cedis. That is about 100% increment. Check iron rods. I was just checking today. A pack of aluminum roofing sheets, the 40 mm aluminum roofing sheets, 20 in one, that used to sell at 520 Ghana cedis in 2016, ladies and gentlemen, is today being sold at 1,200, 12 million, more than 100% increment. A pack of iron rods, 16 mm iron rods, which used to sell at 2,800 cedis, today is being sold at 5,000 Ghana cedis. These are the realities we are living in today. Today, if you check the price of a bag of maize, common maize, which used to sell at 170 Ghana cedis in 2016, today you need 450 Ghana cedis to buy a bag of maize. And so the MPP must take responsibility for the consequences of their insensitive and poor economic management decisions, and refrain from the ludicrous display of woeful blindness put up by their communications director, Yabu Abiasamwa. Friends from the media, next in line to respond to President Mahama was Gabi Asare-Ochiridakon, a self-styled puppet master of the Kufuor Bawumia government, who likes to conceal his role behind the veneer of non-involvement, and the General Secretary of the MPP, Mr. John Boadu. It is clear, Mr. Gabi Ochiridakon, on his part, made a claim that President Mahama had no basis for calling on Ghanaians to vote out the MPP in 2024 so that they can be held accountable for their many corrupt acts. Mr. John Boadu, on his part, also said that President Mahama accused their government of corruption without any proof. But friends from the media, it is clear from a cursory examination of their ridiculous positions that these are men who appear to be haunted by their own shadows, even though the touch of accountability is yet to be shown on them. These assertions by Gabi and the MPP's chief scribe are preposterous to say the least. The systematic governmental corruption spearheaded by President Akufo-Addo and his jocular vice president has been so overt and public that the condemnation of same by Ghanaians, including conscientious and principled MPP members of the MPP, has been unanimous. If Ghanaians are raising their voices in condemnation of corruption and rot within this government, it is because they have lost hope that the canker will ever be tackled as long as the MPP remains in power. They have too many examples of very clear corrupt practices that have gone unpunished to base their conclusions on. Ghanaians are aware of the fact that President Akufo-Addo has flattered to deceive on his 2016 campaign promise to protect the public purse when elected. In fact, we are all aware of how President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia, who once professed to be incorruptible, have made corruption the most attractive venture in Ghana today and have turned out to be the biggest enablers and promoters of corruption. Friends from the media, Ghanaians have not forgotten how in the year 2017, 5 million liters of contaminated fuel belonging to the state, belonging to you and I, was sold by BOST to unregistered and unlicensed entities Movimpiana Energy and Zoop Oil in breach of the National Petroleum Act and the Public Procurement Act, and the proceeds pocketed by entities involved and the accomplices in the Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government. And here, I'm sure you all remember this particular corruption scandal. And it is sad for me to tell you that as we speak, the money that these phony, fraudulent companies had to pay to us, you breached the MPA Act in selling the products to them. That's fine. You breached the PPA Act. You sold the product to them as scrap. That's fine. But at least the monies that the buyers are supposed to pay to the seller, in this case, the government of Ghana, at least pay that one so that we can get money to develop this country. To date, as we speak, that money has not been paid. And because we like to adduce evidence to buttress every claim we make, we will just refresh your memory by showing you screenshots of some of these that confirm some of these scandals. So if you check this story by Modern Ghana, which was published on the 3rd of May 2019, says former boss MD Alfred Obain, management in trouble over contaminated fuel scandal. If you check the story, it is very clear that till date, the 471,000 liters which was sold to Movimpiana Energy and after that sold to Zoop Oil has not been paid for. And you can go to the next page. If you check the last but one paragraph, there it says that nevertheless the Department of Finance at BOST held the contrary view that Movimpiana has not paid BOST for the 471,000 liters fuel sold through Zoop Oil Limited. Additionally, the committee found out that thousands of liters of fuel in the tanks locked by MP could not be accounted for nor be traced. So not only did they sell this product as scrap, not only have they pocketed the proceeds, even what was left cannot be accounted for. They have stolen it. Friends from the media, again, Ghanaians have not forgotten about the infamous PDS scam through which Ghana lost over $1 billion of grants from the United States of America. You would recall how in the year 2019, PDS, a company made up of an appointee of President Akufo-Addo, specifically Mr. Philip Ayensu, the owner of TG Energy Solutions, which had 28% share in PDS, and other cronies of the president, used a fraudulent insurance guarantee to take over the 20 billion Ghana cedi assets of ECG. This scam was occasioned and facilitated by our jocular Vice President of the Republic, Dr. Bawumia, who decided to amend the requirement of a bank guarantee that had to be provided by the concessionaire PDS to establish their financial capacity. He decided to amend that into an insurance guarantee, the validity of which government appointees and officials who were involved in that deal deliberately refused to authenticate so they could capture that important state asset ECG for the family and friends of President Akufo-Addo. Even more bizarre and sad is the fact that till date, PDS has refused to refund to the state the electricity bills worth over 1.2 billion Ghana cedis, which they collected from ECG customers, all of us, during the pendency of the ECG PDS concession agreement. So as a result of their corrupt practices, which led to a fight over the PDS ECG booty, they had to terminate it. And the Americans, who first of all gave us money under the MCC arrangement for the N1 highway under President Kufuor, and even under President Mahama and President Mills decided to give us another 490 million for the power compact so we could improve our power sector and once and for all put an end to doom so. They decided that, look, President Rawlings did well. That is why we gave the first tranche to President Mahama, to President Kufuor. President Kufuor managed that so well, and that is why you qualified for Compact 2, $490 million for your power sector, which President Mahama started, the processes for. But President Akufo-Addo and Bawumia have messed it up because of their greed and their corrupt practices. The concession agreement had to be terminated, and so we've given you 300 million Ghana cedis, $1 million, but the $190 million left, which we're supposed to give you, we are withdrawing it. We won't give it to you. And that $190 million is equivalent to over 10 billion Ghana cedis, and you can see a publication to that effect on the screen. We are showing you how much money this country has lost in the last 5 years as a result of the greed and the thievery of this current government. Ghana loses $190 million over cancelled power contract. This was reported by Voice of Africa on October 25th, 2019. And like I said, sadly, even the electricity bills we pay to ECG have not been refunded to the state. Ladies and gentlemen, you would also recall how this same jocular and corrupt vice president, Dr. Bawumia, who is now very much aware of his very dubious reputation as the most perfidious politician Ghanaians have ever seen, procured an already existing Ghana Asase GPS app at a cost of a whopping $2 million, that is about 110 billion old Ghana cedis, and branded it as a Ghana Post GPS app for Ghanaians, which he claimed was even more advanced than the GPS systems of advanced countries like Germany, UK, and Sweden. This was despite the fact that the original app, Asase GPS app, was already available and accessible to all Ghanaians for free, and that there was no need for the country to have paid that huge sum of money for that application. We have not forgotten about this scandal. So when the MPP start talking about corruption, they should know that these unprecedented corruption scandals are still very fresh in our minds. Again, ladies and gentlemen, people of this country have not forgotten how President Akufo-Addo in the year 2018 sought to personally defraud the state by giving executive approval for the Amer renovation deal, the cost of which had been inflated by an amount of $800 million. But for the vigilance of the NDC minority in Parliament and certain patriotic civil society organizations like COPEC, ASEP, and so on, this is how much President Akufo-Addo would have stolen from the state through that transaction alone. You recall the Ameri Innovation, or what some people prefer to call the Ameri Miscellaneous Deal, where government told us that they were renegotiating the Ameri deal. They were going to bring in a new investor to manage the plants. Presented an agreement which had not even been approved by cabinet, but only the president. He had given executive approval for it. When we looked through it in Parliament, because of our diligence and patriotism, we found out that he had padded the cost of that agreement by as much as $800 million. When he was caught pants down, he said that he was misled by Boakye Ejako. Meanwhile, Boakye Ejako says that you knew about this. So we want Boabian Samoa, Gabi Ochredako, John Boadu and the MPP to understand that they may have short memories, but we don't. We have not forgotten about this stinking corruption scandal. Again, we have not forgotten how President Akufo-Addo and his cabal of family and friends sought to capture and appropriate Ghana's gold royalties for themselves through the infamous Ejapa deal. Here again, but for the vigilance of the NDC minority in Parliament, thank God for the NDC minority in Parliament. Because but for their vigilance and the vigilance of certain patriotic civil society organizations and the special prosecutor at the time, Mr. Martin Amidu, President Akufo-Addo and his cronies would have captured our national gold royalties for the next 15 years. In fact, as we speak, the millions of Ghana cedis that were paid by government to African Legal Associates, a law firm owned by cousin of President Akufo-Addo, Gabi Ochredako, who today has the audacity to talk about corruption, have not been refunded to the state. This is despite the fact that the state hasn't benefited in any way from the shady Ejapa deal, which, by the way, has been suspended by the president. So you try to steal our good royalties. Martin Amidu caught you pants down. Because of that, you suspended the Ejapa deal. Yet you have paid huge sums of money to so-called lawyers who worked on the agreement, including Gabi Ochredako. Here, his friend Kweku Baku saying that, oh, the money which was given to Gabi was not, it was just about $106,000. Let's see a publication to that effect. At least me, they won't believe, but their friend Kweku Baku, they will believe. So that when we say Gabi Ochredako is corrupt, people will know why we are saying so. It says, Ejapa deal, Gabi Ochredako law firm pocketed $103,000. This was said by Kweku Baku on Peace FM and published by several portals, including Ghana Web. So, that can't say give us our money till date. Gabi is not willing to refund these monies to us. And make no mistake, this is not small money. $103,000 is more than 6 billion old Ghana cedis. It is not a joke. And so, as for what the special prosecutor did and said in his corruption risk assessment report about this deal, I know you're already privy to that, so we will not bore you with those details. But we just want the MPP to understand that Ghanaians have not forgotten about this scandal too. Again, friends from the media, Ghanaians have not forgotten about the PPA Donkomi contracts for sale scandal, in which the Chief Executive Officer of the Public Procurement Authority, Mr. A.B. Ajayi, and his agents were caught on tape selling government contracts. Listen to me very carefully. The CEO of the Public Procurement Authority was caught on tape by Manasseh Azuri in his famous Donkomi contract for sale expose, selling government contracts that had been awarded by certain ministries and government agencies to his private company, Talent Discovery Limited, in breach of the Public Procurement Act. Indeed, investigations conducted by the Commission of Human Rights and Administrative Justice Shraj revealed that Mr. A.B. Ajayi siphoned and stashed millions of Ghana cedis, totaling over 34 million Ghana cedis. That is 340 billion Ghana cedis into his personal bank accounts, the source of which he has not been able to explain or justify till date. Can we refresh our memory and look at some of those publications? So you see, sacked PPA CEO couldn't explain large amount of cash in his accounts. In his accounts, Straj. There's a publication by City Newsroom. You can go to the next slide. Okay, the next slide is not about this, but anybody who Googles this will see this. Now, go back. We are not here yet. This is a mega scandal. So, one person alone, in just about 3 years, my brothers and sisters, 340 billion old Ghana cedis. This one, it is not a mere allegation. Straj has investigated the matter and has found that money in his account. Yet this man is still walking the streets of Ghana free. He was asked to justify and explain the source of that money. He couldn't. He couldn't. And yet these people have the effrontery to accuse others of corruption. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we have not forgotten how President Akufo-Addo, after appointing dozens of his family relatives, including his own daughter and baby mama, into key positions in his government, went ahead to give the duty-free shop and the CIP lounge at Terminal 3, built by the visionary nation builder, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, to his daughter, Valerie Obaze, and the wife of his cousin and executive secretary, Nana Santi Bedietu, who is called Femi Aditola, and one daughter of his personal assistant, Seratu Atta, in breach of the Public Procurement Act. Today, these cash cows that should have generated for the Ghana Airport Company, generated money for the Ghana Airport Company to pay back the loan they contracted to build Terminal 3 and to improve the financial health of the company, have been given to cronies of the president, while the Ghana Airport Company is starved of funds to even pay the welfare and retirement benefits of their workers. I'm sure not too long ago you saw the workers demonstrated. You saw them on their screens. In fact, the Director General, they even tried to assault one of the demonstrating workers. Because for the last 3 years, they have not increased the salary of the workers. They deduct their welfare from their salaries as source. They deduct their SNET, their retirement packages from their salaries as source every month. But for more than a year, they have not been paying these monies into their welfare and provident funds. So they are the Ghana Airport Company is so broke today that they are even stealing from their workers. And that is why they are fighting the management. And I think the media should pay attention to that. Seratu, Femi Aditola, they are all Ghanaians. If President Mahama, the nation builder, has built an airport and there is a duty-free shop and a commercially important person's lounge that they want to operate in, no problem. Let them go through due process. Just advertise, tender it. Let people compete for it and give it to the best bid. But you just don't give it to them because they are cronies and family relatives of the president. We have not forgotten about this stinking scandal. But this is the big one, ladies and gentlemen. More importantly, we have not forgotten about how between the years 2018 and 2020, over 500 excavators seized from illegal miners were stolen, sold, and in some cases, distributed to government officials and MPP apparatchiks to promote their illegal mining businesses. Till date, none of the 500 excavators, gold, and the other equipment seized from illegal miners by the illegal mining task force established by President Akufo-Addo have been accounted for. You would recall that when the missing excavator scandal broke, the then Minister for Environment, Professor Frimpong Boateng, accused the MPP Regional Vice Chairman for the Central Region, Mr. Ekwewusi, of stealing these excavators and filed a criminal complaint with the police to that effect. Whereupon Ekwewusi was arrested. Can we just see that publication quickly to refresh our memory? Because I recall the police issuing a statement after the arrest that they were going to investigate the matter, they were going to deal with the perpetrators, and today all that have amounted to nothing. So this graphic online, Horace Ekwewusi, 5 others arrested over missing excavators and cautioned. This dated February 4th, 2020. How many? More than a year now. That one too is now a foolish case because it has been covered up by the mother serpent of corruption. Subsequent to this arrest, a videotape recording emerged which captured two individuals in a heated argument about how the seized excavators were distributed to officials and functionaries of the ruling New Patriotic Party and the Akufo-Addo Bawumia government on grounds that their party needs money. In quotes, party yesika. In that tape, Ekwawusi was heard mentioning the man who likes to accuse everyone of corruption, their General Secretary John Boadu, as one of the MPP bigwigs who were giving some of the seized excavators for his illegal mining businesses that they have destroyed our water bodies and environment. And I'm not making this up. Frimpong Boateng says Ekwawusi, MPP Central Regional Vice Chairman, stole the 500 excavators. Ekwawusi says, I came to Frimpong Boateng with John Boadu, and he told me I should give them some to go and do galamsey because party Nyeska. Let's listen to that tape. It's just about 60 seconds.
I'm doing something for tomorrow.
Can you increase the volume?
Prof, I thought you.
Because this is John Boadu who.
Maybe when many John Boadu any bar with regards to Yenya and Physical Coma Party.
Yes.
What Prof? Ana woman authorization. 7 former team na message at no money say man.
Yes.
What Prof now san catch him say a team na message him. Nyemfa gizo na fanka. Yes, sir.
But do you tell me so why is that maybe?
Prof.
We talk about the framework. In fact, you know say party against and it's okay. Let's go to me now. You want to be concession. So want to be a concession. So you go there, inspect the place. That's from a team. But the kind of one can't tell say what we am before you I don't know. We talk about the framework.
One can say crown we see more takwa. Abraham Beka say area ho baby gizo mo be suggest say area mo baby. E ho no ye me yenko ye adwuma. One can say crown now see mo eche mo chance.
No, we are talking no, John Boadu if I'm away.
All right, we can't bore you with all that because we are just refreshing your memory. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is the height of hypocrisy, or perhaps sheer impudence, driven by the intoxications of political power, for this same John Boadu to mount a moral horse and talk about corruption today. We are calling on John Boadu and other MPP functionaries who are alleged to be neck deep in the destruction of our forests and water bodies through their illegal mining activities to come out and clear their sullied reputations first before gathering the moral high ground to pontificate about corruption. We can understand why people like John Boadu is pained and petrified by President Mohammed's call for Ghanaians to vote out the MPP in 2024 so they can be held accountable for their unprecedented thievery and corruption. Clearly, John Boadu knows that he cannot pass the accountability test when his role in that infamous missing excavator scandal and the illicit galamsey trade is scrutinized. We wish to remind John Boadu that the day of accountability may tarry, but it will surely arrive. And I'm sure you even remember that at some point, somebody was arrested who said he was a driver of John Boadu and who was actively engaged in illegal mining. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we have also not forgotten the galamsey fraud expose by ace investigative journalist Anas Arimiyawa Anas, in which a presidential staffer and secretary to the then Interministerial Committee Against Illegal Mining, Charles Bissiou, was caught on tape taking bundles of money, taking bribes to promote illegal mining activities of some foreigners and their local MPP collaborators. Before I move forward, on the PDS one, there is another tape, just about 30 seconds, involving, first of all, let's see because let me give you a background. You know that One of the people involved was Philip Ayunsu, who owns a barbering salon. Yes. And he has been appointed by President Akufo-Addo to the NCA board. He's the one who owns TG Energy Solutions, which was given 28% of ECG, meaning that when we pay electricity bills and ECG gets profits, this one man alone gets 28% of the profits of all the electricity bills customers of ECG pays. And he, Gabi Otredakon, allegedly, and another brother of the president, Edward Akufo-Addo, were said to be on a WhatsApp platform. Can we see those details? So this was a WhatsApp platform trailer in Manila. You have Gabi there, you have Babatunde Ampa, I don't know him. You have Edward Akufo-Addo, Bomti, Gabi Otredakon, Kwame Ofosu Bamfo, and other people. Philip Ayunsu is also there, Nareda Sura is also there. Let's look at some of their chats. We are refreshing our memory so that when these people are talking about corruption, because they are afraid of accountability, you will know what is at stake. So you can see these conversations, Gabi Otredakon writing, Philip, the structure won't work if you don't incorporate an SPV. I do not understand why we are fighting over so many things, you know. Now play the tape. Let's listen to the conversation that allegedly his cousin or his uncle, Bomti, had with Philip Ayunsu over the PDS matter. Can you play that tape, please?
You can't go below 40.
No, sir.
At all.
Yes, sir. That means we come far.
I'm just trying to.
Yes. No, I can't go below the 40. I would rather prefer getting off and just getting something out of it and just letting off.
Okay, so I see.
It's just to demonstrate that this is for me and it's not for anybody. And that is something I want to just come up very strong on.
Okay, if that's your final position, then we have to let the others know and spread the sound moving forward.
Okay, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
See, ECG na near Chenesano. This is 40. You say I can't go below 40. The ECG that belongs to all of us. Yeah, in the PDS matter. Friends from the media, so alarming and pervasive has corruption become under the watch of President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia, that even fertilizer worth millions of Ghana cedis, meant for farmers under their much touted Planting for Food and Jobs program, have been stolen and smuggled outside the country by some greedy elements in the ruling MPP. Fertilizer too, they are stealing. When the Minister of Agriculture was asked about this, he shamelessly told the nation that these tons of fertilizer were stolen and smuggled by camels and donkeys to Burkina Faso. Hence, government's inability to question or arrest the perpetrators of this broad daylight robbery. Only in Ghana, and I repeat, only in Ghana, can such cock and bull stories be entertained for a minute by public officials. However, let this message get to the Agri Minister and others who are milking the nation through shady deals under the Planting for Food and Jobs program, that we are watching with eagle eyes and we shall hold them to account one by one. Friends from the media, these are just 10 classic examples of corruption and stealing that have been perpetrated against the Ghanaian people by President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia. Time constraints will not allow me to talk about the Australia Visa Fraud scandal, the National Youth Authority street light scandal, the missing tricycle scandal, the premise fuel diversion scandal, the National Lotteries Authority scandal, the Frontiers Health Services scandal, and the many other corruption scandals that the mother serpent of corruption, President Akufo-Addo, and his jocular and corrupt Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, have supervised in the last 5 years. We will leave that for another day. But what is clear from all these cases of corruption and stealing, which have cemented President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia's reputation as the most corrupt president and vice president in Ghana's history, is that President Mahama was absolutely right when he said that this MPP government is corrupt and that they must be kicked out in 2024 if we have any intention of holding them accountable for their riots. Never, ladies and gentlemen, never in the history of Ghana have we had such sophisticated thieves at the presidency and in government. No wonder the presidency has today become a breeding ground for criminals under their watch. And I want to repeat this paragraph for emphasis, because there are some people that when you call these people who they are, they get offended. But we are calling them by their very name. And what I'm saying is that, ladies and gentlemen, never in the history of Ghana have we had such sophisticated, and maybe I should add clever thieves at the presidency and in government. They steal fertilizer, they steal excavators, they steal oil, they steal everything. They steal everything. If they are not thieves, are they better than those who steal tomatoes and border in the farm? It's about time we call them by their very name and confront them. Because anybody who steals 500 excavators, he is more than an armed robber. But they are walking the streets of Ghana free. Because the man who is at the helm of affairs is himself corrupt. He's part of the corruption. His own bosom friend, Martin Amidu, carved that name for him. I thank him very much because it fits him very well, the mother serpent of corruption. You see? So he covers up all these corrupt acts. And that is why they have the effrontery to even call a press. When I heard that the MPP had called a press conference, I thought they were going to talk about Agenda 111 or something. But when I heard that they were talking about corruption, I said, really? These people don't have any shame. So that is who they are. And we owe them no apologies because they are thieves. What is instructive in all this is the fact that none of the government officials and MPP functionaries responsible for all these cases of corruption, which have occasioned huge financial losses to the state. Look at how much money we lost through PDS alone. None of these people have been held responsible for any of these corrupt acts. Instead of prosecuting them and ensuring that the monies involved are refunded to the state, President Akufo-Addo has cleared, shielded, and even in some cases defended many of the culprits of these acts, including himself. This is what has made corruption a free-for-all pageant show in the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia MPP government, and has emboldened many more appointees and officials of government to engage in more acts of corruption and plain stealing with brazen impunity. Coupled with this is the extreme levels of intolerance and heavy-handedness towards independent anti-corruption institutions and office holders and civil society activists who have dared to hold the feet of this government to the fire of accountability. President Akufo-Addo removed the Auditor General, great assets that this country has. He removed him very painfully, Isaiah Odumbelevo, from office in clear retaliation for surcharging his senior minister for his role in the $1 million cruise scandal. Today, you have the president praising the new Auditor General. The Auditor General is supposed to be the referee in this corruption game. He is the one who is supposed to check everyone, including the president. So if you have a president who has masterminded the removal of an Auditor General who all of us can attest was fighting corruption, brought in a new one, and today he can stand on a platform and say that this new one has even done better than the old one, and praise him, then you should know that Ghana is in trouble. His own acclaimed special prosecutor, as I've already indicated, Martin Amidu, cited direct interference to extricate his cousin and finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, during the Japan corruption risk assessment as a reason for his resignation. The president is also on record to have shown open hostility and held abuse at prominent civil society leaders for criticizing his handling of corruption cases, describing some of them variously as thoughtless and loose-talking, in quotes, and politicians in CSO clothing. These constitute unprecedented attacks on accountability institutions and have contributed to the total collapse of the wobbly fight against corruption under the watch of this president. So, Auditor General, Ajenedie, Special Prosecutor, Ajenedie, and now civil society organizations are the ones the president is dealing with, calling them all manner of names. What is most despicable in all this is how officials of President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia, their governments, are busy profiting from the COVID-19 pandemic, which has and continues to claim many precious lives. We thought that COVID would be an exception because that one is our lives, it's our health. But as for these people, when it comes to stealing and corruption, they have no exceptions. Today, state funds allocated for the country's fight against COVID-19 are being misappropriated by greedy and shameless officials of this government through many shady deals. You are all aware how recently the Minister of Health, Kweku Agyeman, and the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, violated the Public Procurement Act and the Public Financial Management Act in the procurement of 3.4 million doses of Sputnik V vaccines. Even though they could get these vaccines below $10 per dose from the Russians, they decided to go through phony and dubious intermediaries who were interested in abnormal profit so they could go back and share with them. Under this corrupt deal, government without parliamentary approval contracted to pay and actually paid $19 per dose of Sputnik V vaccine to Sheikh Damouk of Dubai when they knew that the approved international market price of the vaccine in question was, like as I said, less than $10. But for the vigilance and patriotism of the NDC, minority in parliament, and the media, Ghana would have lost over $20 million through this corrupt deal alone. So they are so shameless. In spite of several calls by the president to sack the health minister and the finance minister who were implicated in this unlawful and corrupt deal, both of them continue to remain at post. The one who we're told went for a 2-week leave has surreptitiously returned and is working now. He thinks we don't know. We are very aware that he's working. Only weeks ago, Ghanaians witnessed President Akufo-Addo make light joke of this serious scandal following a clamor for the dismissal and prosecution of the health and finance ministers for their roles in this affair. Somebody goes to buy a vaccine at a hyper-inflated price. The thing is below $10, he goes to buy it at about $19 without parliamentary approval and without going through the procurement law. And even when they bought it and some of the vaccines got to Ghana, they didn't even send the vaccines to FDA for testing. They were so busy thinking about the monies they could get from the transaction. So the FDA did not even test, and they gave these vaccines to Ghanaians. Something like this, which borders on life and safety. The president decided to make a joke out of it. That Agyeman Benu abredodo ohunhwe nemrebeba. Distinguished friends from the media, the latest of these COVID-related thievery are the hyper-inflated expenditures captured at Appendix 4B and 4E of the 2021 mid-year budget review, where the Akufo-Addo Bawumia MPP government claims to have spent a whopping $100 million, a whopping $100 million, equivalent to 600 million Ghana cedis, that is 6 trillion old Ghana cedis, on the procurement of face masks, Veronica buckets, hand sanitizers for secondary school children, and another $75 million, equivalent to 401 million Ghana cedis, which is also equivalent to over 4 trillion old Ghana cedis, on the same items, face mask, hand sanitizer, Veronica bucket, for the NIA and the EC for the registration exercises they conducted in the year 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, what in the world can justify these clearly hyper-inflated and outrageous expenditures? Just ask yourself, all of us here should ask ourselves, how many secondary schools do we have in this country? How many Veronica buckets were procured and distributed to these schools? How many secondary school children do we have in Ghana? How many face masks, the 1 cedi face mask, and hand sanitizers were distributed to them? And as a patriotic Ghanaian, ask yourself, whether even if these items, face masks, Veronica buckets, hand sanitizers, were made of gold and diamond, these outrageous, hyper-inflated expenditures are justifiable. $100 million, which is some way, somehow, the same amount they have allocated for their so-called Agenda 111 project. So $100 million for hospitals, 111. But the same $100 million for face masks, Veronica buckets, and hand sanitizers. We, maybe, I don't know why the screen is off, but when it comes back, let us see. I want to show our media friends here those appendixes so that when they go, they can take time and check the media budget. So if you check, this is Appendix 4E. We are not lying to you. It is contained in their own budget. And if you check, this is COVID expenditure for mass reopening of secondary schools. That is there. It is 598 million Ghana cedis, equivalent to $100 million at the time. This is contained, this page 101, Appendix 4E of the 2021 media budget review. Go to the next one, which is Appendix 4B, page 100 of the media budget review. And if you check item 6.1, it is somewhere down there. If you want copies, we'll get you copies. Another $75 million, 4 trillion OCDs for these same items for the NIA and the EC. We in the NDC are deeply worried about how monies we should have been used to provide roads, hospitals, schools, potable water, jobs, and for other productive ventures that can benefit the good people of Ghana are being wasted on corruption and profligacy for the Akufo-Addo-Bawumia NPP government. We are deeply concerned because we care about our dear nation. Even though this government has borrowed more money than any government in Ghana's history, thereby increasing our public debt from just about 120 billion Ghana cedis in 2016 to over 336 billion Ghana cedis as at last quarter 2021, they have very little to show relative to developmental projects, be it in education, health, and all other sectors of the economy. This is because, you see, the reason why you are not getting the roads in your communities, the reason why you are not getting the hospitals, you are not getting schools, the reason why you are not getting jobs is because this government has wasted the unprecedented revenues that have accrued to them in the last 5 years on corruption, profligacy, like traveling in luxurious private jets so that the president can shower in the skies, and consumption. They have wasted all these monies on chop-chop. Ladies and gentlemen, how long can we continue like this as a country? I am sure you would agree with me that the dizzying levels of corruption, naked thievery, and insensitivity of the Akufo-Addo government, which is depriving Ghanaians of the development and comfort they deserve, must come to an end. We, the good people of this country, who still have our conscience and integrity intact, have a duty to unborn generations to rescue our beloved country from the clutches of this incompetent, inept, dishonest, nepotistic, and corrupt Akufo-Addo-Bawumia NPP government, and restore her back to the path of development, accountability, inclusivity, and true progress. This is why President Mahama is calling on all of us to kick these greedy thieves out of office in 2024, to afford the next NDC administration the opportunity to hold them accountable for their many corrupt acts. We cannot afford to give them 4 more years to steal more and to cover up and enjoy their loot, while majority of us continue to wallow in squalor and abject poverty. Regime change is the only hope we have of holding President Akufo-Addo, Dr. Bawumia, and the appointees accountable for their stewardship. It is the only way we can retrieve the huge sums of monies, our monies, that have been stolen from the state and punish them in accordance with law. Our friends in the MPP know that most of them cannot pass the accountability test when they leave office. This is why they are panicking and desperately jumping over themselves to, in quotes, break the 8 at all costs. And this is why they are desperately trying to run down the hard-won reputation and integrity of the nation builder, President John Dramani Mahama, whose public image stands tall and continues to shine like a towering lighthouse. As for the MPP and their corrupt surrogates, their cup is full to the brim and running over. Time has exposed their chicanery and criminal acts. Ghanaians are well awake at this time around, and I've come to appreciate them for who they truly are: an incompetent, dishonest, and corrupt bunch who only came to power to enrich themselves at the expense of the state. They will not be third time lucky with lies. And so no amount of subterfuge and comical attacks they heap on the person of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama can hoodwink Ghanaians and keep them in power beyond 2024. And so we will not bore you with any response to the false and baseless corruption allegations they leveled against the NDC and President Mahama. All the stale and contrived allegations these thieves rehashed at their last press conference addressed by their General Secretary have been discredited over and over again. Like I can say, in quotes, "Yatiabre," to which we are tired of listening to the same old lies. 5 years after leaving office, President Mahama remains squeaky clean with unblemished integrity. His impeccable record is there for all to see. If you listen to the kind of noise they made in opposition when President Mahama in office, you would have thought that President Mahama would have been in jail by now. But today, his integrity remains unblemished. Because if you look at his record, everything shows that indeed he came to serve the people of this country and develop this country with honesty, humility, selflessness, and patriotism. Till date, not a scintilla of evidence has been adduced by the MPP to substantiate any of the allegations of corruption they leveled against President Mahama when they were in opposition, including those made by the then opposition leader candidate Akufo-Addo, that President Mahama had inflated the cost of the Rage Hospital, Kaswa Interchange, Kumasi Airport rehabilitation projects, and even used $10 million for the printing of presidential diaries. Not a scintilla of evidence has been adduced to buttress that. During his time in office, President Mahama fought corruption head-on, no matter whose ox was God, including prosecuting his own appointees for alleged corrupt acts, as he did in the Jida case, a standard President Akufo-Addo has never and can never live up to, because he has corruption embedded in his DNA. Unlike the mother serpent of corruption, President Mahama never shielded or defended any appointee of his who was found to have engaged in corruption. So high, ladies and gentlemen, so high was President Mahama's commitment to the fight against corruption that the deputy minister in his government, who privately expressed a mere intention to quit politics if she made $1 million, was asked to step aside. His track record relative to the fight against corruption is unassailable, and no amount of lies can change this fact. Now, finally, ladies and gentlemen, let me deal with what is perhaps the most ridiculous and preposterous of all the claims the MPP made at their press conference, which is the claim that they are fighting corruption because they are prosecuting some officials of the former NDC Mahama government. When you ask them, how are you fighting corruption? Oh, we are prosecuting Dr. Puni. That is their way of fighting corruption. This claim is very ridiculous and laughable because, as you do know, if the fight against corruption was all about prosecution of political opponents, then anybody at all can fight corruption. Who cannot prosecute his enemy? This is because the mere prosecution of political opponents is the easiest path in the fight against corruption. As President Mahama said some time ago, the true test of one's commitment to the fight against corruption doesn't lie in the prosecution of their opponents, but the prosecution of their own appointees. In fact, most of the cases of criminal prosecutions against some officials of the former NDC regime, the MPP keeps bragging about, oh, we are fighting corruption because we are prosecuting this former appointee of NDC and so on. Most of these cases they keep bragging about are beginning to crumble like a pack of cards right before their very eyes. What we are seeing is a desperate regime which is not interested in upholding fair trial and the interests of justice, but determined to do everything possible under the sun to convict former NDC government officials at all costs for cheap political goal scoring. Classical examples that highlight this fact is a case against the former Senate boss, Ernest Thompson, which has been dismissed by the Supreme Court on grounds of defective charges. And also the case against the former Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board, Dr. Stephen Opuni and Alhaji Seydou Agongo. In the case of the Opuni trial, even after the Supreme Court of the Republic has prohibited the trial judge, I want you to listen to me very carefully. Even after the Supreme Court has barred the trial judge, Justice Onyuga, from presiding over the case on grounds of his manifest prejudice and bias against the accused persons, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Godfred Yeboah-Dame, who is supposed to advance the interests of justice in all cases, wants the judge reinstated on grounds that starting the case de novo, starting the case afresh, will be at great expense and cost to the state. This is the most unfortunate statement I have heard from an Attorney General in my life. And it is a slap in the face of fair trial and administration of justice. Because you know why, friends? There are about 4 High Court justices, 4 High Court judges at the criminal division of the High Courts. But for some reasons, Justice Onyenyuga, then Justice of the Court of Appeal, was given a special warrant to preside over the prosecution of Dr. Stephen Opuni and Seydou Agongo. Few months after that, Justice Onyenyuga was promoted to the Supreme Court by President Akufo-Addo. This is the Justice Onyenyuga, a judge who during the 2020 election campaign publicly endorsed and campaigned for a second term for President Akufo-Addo when he visited his palace. The judge who has said in open court that the Opuni case is distracting him from his Supreme Court duties. Hence, he wants to conclude the case quickly so that he can focus on his Supreme Court duties. We are talking about the judge who, in his ruling on a submission of no case, decided to exclude from the evidence on record as many as 18 exhibits that vindicates the case of Dr. Opuni and the other accused persons, and which were tendered through prosecution witnesses without any objection whatsoever from the prosecution. The insistence by the Attorney General to have Justice Onyenyuga continue with this case suggests that the Attorney General is desirous of having his own preferred judge preside over a case that is prosecuting. This singular conduct has the tendency to completely erode public confidence in the judiciary as an independent arm of government. The simple questions government and Godfred Dame must answer are, number one, why must Justice Onyenyuga preside over the Opuni trial at all costs, despite the clear prejudice and bias he has exhibited against the accused persons? Is he the only judge in Ghana who can preside over that case? And more importantly, why must fair trial and justice, truth, be sacrificed on the altar of cost? Can Godfred Dame sell his liberty for money? So when people's liberties are at stake, fair trial is at stake, justice is at stake, you are telling us that the Supreme Court says, this judge has shown bias. We are barring him, even though he's our own colleague. He cannot preside over the case. He are saying that, oh, my laws, if you do that, we have to go and start afresh. It will cost us money, so let him come in. I mean, where in the world did you hear this? From somebody who is not just an attorney general, that is, he's not just a lawyer for government, but he is also a minister of justice. And therefore must be interested in justice for all citizens. Clearly, friends from the media, Godfrey Dame is engaged in headhunting for his preferred judge in the Opini trial for an outcome that should be obvious to any objective mind. Most of the criminal cases against former NDC appointees that the MPP would have us believe are evidence of their commitment to the fight against corruption are cases of prosecution. They are cases of persecution and not prosecutions. As such, these cannot and should not be believed as evidence of any genuine commitment to the fight against corruption. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to remind the MPP that Ghanaians are well aware of the fact that the wobbly and fraudulent fight against corruption President Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia have supervised in the last 5 years has been lost completely. No attempt to cover this up will suffice, as the people of Ghana are sufficiently aware of which party really protects the public purse and which one merely pay lip service to it only to subject same purse to abuse. The only motivation for President Akufo-Addo, Dr. Bawumia, and the MPP to want to, in quote, break the eight in their own ways is to help them perpetuate this regime of corruption, naked thievery, ostentation, and impunity. Most of all, their wish is that in 2024, Ghanaians will give them another opportunity to cover up their bad deeds and continue to dim the torch of accountability while further enriching themselves and impoverishing the Ghanaian people. However, we are quite confident that come 2024, all well-meaning Ghanaians who wish to see the progress of our nation will join forces with us to break the 8 years of stealing, break the 8 years of nepotism, break the 8 years of lawlessness and impunity, break the 8 years of deception and broken promises, and break the 8 years of injustice and intolerance. President Mahama will continue to express his gratitude to the people of Ghana for their support and will provide a voice for the voiceless to ensure good governance and accountability. No amount of misrepresentations and verbal attacks will dissuade him from doing and saying what he deems to be right in the interest of the nation. We wish to encourage the media, you who are the fourth state of the realm, and anti-corruption CSOs who are being abused by President Akufo-Addo for their relentless fights against corruption under him. We salute your courage and patriotism. Please and please, don't give up or give in to the abuses and threats of this intolerant and despotic regime. Don't give up to the insults and threats of these thieves. Let us kick them out in 2024 so we can hold them accountable for their thievery. And let's work together to rescue this country from the hands of this corrupt MPP government and build the prosperous and better Ghana that we all yearn for. Thank you for your attention, ladies and gentlemen. May God bless us. All right, thank you. We don't have time, so I'm told nobody has a question for me. So because of that, I want to crave your indulgence. Please just keep your cameras in position as I do a very quick summary of this presentation in the Twi language for the purposes of the account stations. Yes, I don't want to be accused as not allowing for questions. My brother, I saw you coming. Do you have a question? Yeah, so what's the question? Just one question. I'll answer and then just do the Twi.
My name is Emmanuel Saki. Yeah. I work for Top FM in TV. Yeah. In John Boydus and Boabin Sasamoa Express last week, they made mention of a number of projects that the former president said he completed or he started, which today is 4. So I asked Boabina Samoa to tell us number of projects when at the time they were voted into power was completed by the Elsewhere administration, and number of projects which were uncompleted he couldn't answer. So can you tell me the number of projects the NDC completed when leaving office and the number of projects they couldn't complete.
All that is contained in the Green Book. But today is not the day for that. Today we are talking about corruption and other issues. So we will deal with that later. Maybe after this you can meet me in my office. I'll grant you an interview on that. Yeah, thank you. So abusuafo ayeshemu ha. Dedi kan me pese meda mu nyina masese monya abotre etie yen. Se ye frɛ mo a enye bone. Se te se de mu nyina mu nim no na watwetwa mu. Eye ebnada no na omampanyi mahama ne nto abo a ɔbɔ no wɔ Ghana fa na nyina. Se wo de da Ghana fo ase e wa ba omoto ma no ene mwa mpaya omabo ama no throughout the 2020 campaign mu no. Ode efa edikan no na eye for the 5 northern regions of Ghana no eba awiye ko ho ne nananom matena konwane omanfo ho di nkomo bebre oje bre so ko radio so ene Ghana fo nyina ewo saa empatamu okodi nkomo wona ne kasa mu no ode nsem mienu bi tu dwa em se ama popo bribrim abo yenuanom MPP fo pa asem ba ko kan ye ne se ene omampenya kufu ado amambo bone ne nhyehyɛ ye bone nti no eka emene Ghana amen ne Ghana sika ya jeje no oman ni mu nyina ye wo asoman nyina no ye di tua ye ka ho nsi ho tua wie ne etua aban dwuma ye fo ka wie a bibia ni ho bia de be ye mpuntunwuma ama sika abakrum ama sika aba ye botom eno ene other policies se taxes foforo aban we di abegu ye nso dollar ene ate praga na Dr. Bawomi adwane a yenhu bebia wa free what turning home from economic wizard into IT expert no eno na ama ahokyere Ghana fo hu bi da enene omukum ti oka ahokyere ho asempa e ka se be ya aban toto nyema yi na aban tete nyema so se ne be ya omanfo wo be henhan omo na ye ho atoye kakra ewi akire osan so ka se ene wo hwe bebia kata hyehye ne pro ya kwa kodru na ayehu because he say no akwa yes beauty pageant show MPP officials including omampanyi pemu nankasa ene na bedieche Dr. Bawumia omonnan omonsa ne omu bebia sikata hyehye ene pro ya godie ni mu a ejeze sika e wose ye de oman ni yie no nipa kakra bi ewia egu omubotom nti se be ya na this ready ne se 2024 abato omre no so a ento aba ne yenwo MPP for etiko no mumfura konwa so se na be ya aban foforo beba na yetimi aba be hwehwe omunyemam na yede omo disika famra kwan so na de wose yagema oman no de ye oman ni yie ma adwuma ne ahotoba krom ha so no yetimi aye ne saa yenuano MPP for ti asemi ya omumu ni ya omatikopum omo se ada na president Mahama se ahokyere wo Ghana na ahokyere bia ni Ghana because Ghana for ye ho toye pa na president Mahama ne namu a okekasa ahokyere wa ha na ahokyere bia ni ha ennenne yeyi announce yeyi saasem na no se bi yenuano MPP for omfo buo ni nidie kakra ma Ghana for because the odanije mu no ne nim se ne sisi ne fa se Ghana for wa hotomu a politician bia ni wo betumi aka atwere mo so mo wa ahokyere mo mbegina di nti enne se Ghana for dodo na esu se omani mu ayede na president Mahama de nano atomu bia muntie na montete nyema so taxes no montete so kakra because the truth of the matter is apart from omo kakra bia omudide no omutimi high private jet akese don hwere ba ku bia oman no boka over 1 billion cedis no ya ka ya fire trotro no ye taxi no ye brepa because of all these taxes omudi abegu ye so any oman ni sika semo a atete apansam enam omamu bonenti ene yesi Ghana fo nim hwekra ndokra to ahye de omunim se aben ukodwomu a obi esu because oton a ye nto nti de oton no usu ena de okoton no usu ufiri a ye ntua odon sa hye obotomu a ensi hwe so bo hye bebre ba aban no ebepetumi omo hye ye nyina no yehu aburo bag na your top bag 170 Ghana cedis 2016 and ne Mahama no and the same bag and your ton 170 Ghana no I just look it at 450 Ghana no waiting ya to be petrol na your top gallon bear 16 Ghana cedis in December 2020 no and I just look it at bear 30 cedis no wenya 1 gallon e wo goil any total and share on the keka ho dollar na ye 4 cedis a Dr. Bawumia ma ye hu se ono de onim o man penye Kufuor kra ka se Dr. Bawumia de wiase mu nyansa nyina ne tim ne wo tin ye freeze wo ba ma dollar na fi 4 cedis akọ 2 cedis is a dollar no etwam 6 Ghana cedis obi ka kire yen se under Dr. Bawumia dollar be do 6 cedis a nke bia Ghana fo bebre nyini so ene abaso ene cement near top back 27 Ghana cedis under Omampenyi Mahama in 2016 and I just look at the 50 52 baby cry 54 cedis answer the wenya bag iron rods in chance bibia boa kosoro bumbumu a Ghana for bre enti say we are buying mu nipa na wo de we did ya men na wenya mana bros nti no mumu bebre kra mu ntofu o taxpayers sika na mo de tofu ogu mu kam mo nyama ba kra mu ntua import duty na enu nti ye gya ehyehyɛ no mu nti bia ene mo nkama no ntum na Ghana fo nka de ha wo na ye nyae se ye twa Ghana fo ada pa se omo ho ne to mo na politician bi na di bibi show wutim se aho kyerɛ wo e ya atemdidie e ma Ghana fo nyina de to so mienu a ene ho hia ye pa ye ka ho asɛm ye kata hyehyɛ ne pro ye asɛm a owura Mahama ka ho asɛm a MPP fo se momonti bi da nti o my friends am chofo na watwetwa mi the deep president Mahama tem de enimu nyina ya ka to no so te se de omo ye ne da no eno ne ya ka se ensem omo kan ne de enyi ano because eyemugo say ye Ford give to ye DN all those scandals mu nyina mu nim say yate abre hwenim se bibi wo mu a nka mfie num ya president Mahama betena opposition nka omo de aba bonten da ma president Mahama kra nka ya che no ana ne ministers ne deputy ministers oni omo ye adwuma ka ya che bi so be seen MPP NDC former minister or deputy minister bi eniwa ya che no se wa bokro no na kan be se president Mahama kra ya che no se mo kato no so nyina president Mahama disikato Ridge Hospital boso Kaswa interchange boso Kumase airport boso ni nyina dance wo hia sa na ya kuhwisem ne yahudo brother sem eno mo de se sa ba ma ni munyamfo no kwa be seen na omuntimi fa ho dance bi amai nti ya fa na se sa ansem ne yahudo brother sem ne mbugu a yan sososo because so we are buying now a serious government now we say political opponent a usuro no wabokro no now untimi fa ho dance e ma megu nanimu ase enche ne nkogina court a na wo so mfa so ne say it means you are a useless government nti yan sososo but the person enuanom MPP for tia ase ne say bakata hyehyɛ ne proya asɛm a ɛyɛ haram ma wo ye musuo ma wo ni so mo ka bi kura because krono mo betena konya so ma boyi no ɛyɛ dutwam yehu bi da yenti bi mpanyin nsɛm da Ghana sika Ghana japade o ma fom no yehu bi da aso mo free se yakoto aba foforo nti ye wura fia de omo ye ya ansa ne yakoto 2020 aba ne ye wura mfie na de omo we ne omo second term nso no a omo ye no so ye wura mfie ti na ya bobo bi so kwan a omo fa so Ghana ye fa ngo 5 million liters ye ka 5 million liters a ye ka be 200 tankers of oil omo toma unregistered and unlicensed businesses abroman famra kwan so boni don komi fofofo na be si ne sika kra wo se companies ne de ma ban omo fam ma ban ne yenya sika aye mpuntu nyuma ama Ghana fo nya hoto no ye rain fees a boss scandal no sa kro no kese ne rain fee PDS a MPP fo ya bi ne o mampenye Kufuor ado ho nipa binom fa frakadam kwan so ebe je ECG ejapade kakraka say using a fake insurance guarantee Dr. Bawumia boa wo mo de babeje ye no ye remfie ye sika na was America for the boa yen be 10 billion Ghana cedis a omu twa mu omo se omo mfa ma ye biem compact trip po de $500 million ye maso ni nyina omo twa mu omo se omo mfa ma ye biem krono nti ye remfie sa asem ni nyina ekwan aga bi okire da akoni o mampenye Kufuor ado nuanom no mo ho bon sa asem we mu a ebe ya asem kese wo Ghana na ye de ho adanse ni bi a kire mo ama ye nyina ya ka aka ye ho ye remfie eja paso ye remfie kwan a abai we mu nipa fa so se komo be wi Ghana ye gold sika ye nya firi mu nyina for 15 years NDC ye mrahye bedwafo together with Central for ni CSOs binom imani mo ne special prosecutor Martina Midu Mubua Maya power moment to my stop was adiano, ye ring fee. Nempo, with regards to a Japan, and himself be seen ne Sika be 6 billion na mutu ama Mampenye Kufuado ni nua Gabiotre da ko law firm African Legal Associates. Under that deal, you need say meka o mine nsa. Wafa one ne yire ne nabusuafo e de chele. Abragana fo bregana fo nyanyuma. Ghana fo bi no mu nyan supano. Ghana fo yare no moko hospital mo de da form because empany wo no. Kwabrane wa no wampam under an illegal agreement sika yetu ama no because ni nua ne o mampenye. Ye remfie kwan a President Mahama Airport kakraka ya wasiasi kutuka terminal 3. Na oye duty free shop wo mu ye CIP lounge wo mu se be ma airport no sika. Na adwuma yefo wo ho no matime pagya o market tuam na airport na timi agina brane no. Ye remfi kwan a o mampanyi Akufuado a ono wa ma ne ba post, ne ba maami post, ne wo fa ase no post. Na ni nyina achinti pese minkum nyanti wasan so de sa duty free shop na ma ne baba Valerie Obaze ne yere mfie commercially important persons lounge so a odi ama you can say Saratuata ne personal assistant ne baba ene Femi Aditola oware na Asante bedi etuo President Akufuado cousin no yere mfie ni nyina empanyifo zenka wanya bibia ma wase ayemo de kro no airport a wan sibi President Muhammad ya wasisu a wawie mu nyema de am wabusuafo a sika papa bia akra ni wa omutua ane Ghana Airport Company ego because abusuafo yi age afa onche ni United abusuafo mrenti me de we betwa to na ya ka che nuanom MPP fo se ye wura nya mfie kwan a omofa frakadam so jeje Ghana fo binum excavators so mo kweti agalamsey over 500 excavators. Any gold no crowd there can hear refi gold, ammunitions ne dia keka ho. Cars. Be seen ni now we are tonwadi. Emra ne sen ko mo chichi excavators no mo fan koma police for. No mo hweso, ni amfa saa mfidie ni nkokọ na court nkyere de amfa mfidie ni nye. O mampenya Akufuado se onye a police for ni. Nemom oje ne Central MPP Vice Chairman Akuawisi di chair police for ntino. Odebema Akuawisi no de akosi ne yard bi e wa belempe. Esiwo ye kohwe ya 500 excavators ni nyina no ya mutu. O mewi atonton ade. Tape ba bonte a saa na Akuawisi ene Professor Frimpong Boatin as ambre no ne da galamsey ntokwa no so Minister for Environment mu a. Omo a na acha ade no ama MPP for. So omo party hia sika. Was ankomodie ni mumpo no omo general secretary ya ne wanya ano e kasa abakata hyehyɛ ne proye ye bo ni din wom Akuawisi bo ni din wom se onene ne ba Frimpong Boaten wo so omo ba beje excavators ni bio omo de akoya galamsey ade Ghana ni de mani ni di agene excavator MPP fo mo nko na mo hia sika be sinne excavators na ye hu ye gold a ye hu ye omo ton ni nyina enti abusuafo sa akronfo we omote Flagstaff House etimi nya akokodro eye press conference o mo kaso obi abokro no a eye bufu se na ye didi atem so and ye person mo hu ni se ye nim se aboa be na ye so owe a eso so da ye aha omukwa kutire na omawe a eso so omo da ye enu ti na President Mahama bo accountability so na omo ho hyehye omo te se de before be akwa sorry a ye botong so na ne ho hyehye ne pre no because obunim se bibi ba se say de kata hyehye ne proye no aye free for all obi aye bi because why na beka auditor general ya odumelevu akọ beka no o mampanyi Akufuado wapam no o se onko retirement obaya o declare do ato ne prum aden ya o so okura wanyini dodo abro retirement ko tena fie. And so I point to be a wedi bear 70 years on Kotna Yuku. 77 so on Kotna Yuku. Or Pamunin we and also what channel. Or see new one now band your boy Jumakra channel. Why? Because or Buana Manabokro no more. Oh yeah, special prosecutor no the Ghana for in Argina tomb. Nesaka second ufanu a trend this MPP. Citizen vigilante Martinamidu. Amani pool special prosecutor. Omo di aje fans wo kromo asa no kire so mampanyi Akufuado you are committed to the fight against corruption. Ko wi akira Martinamidu say Sa 419 Sakawa no Mampenya Kufuado de Yeno. No Mampenya Kufuado de Bakata Jane Proya. Or ya walk primary mammy. The mother serpent of corruption. Or say, New Year's your buy any mistake a wire pass or just a pussy. Because Omanpenny be anywhere will nimna or bokro no chain. Omanpenny Kufuado. No bokro no so anwa pepa na no nti no de na toto aboa wo no. Odishe na pointies. Nti Martina mi duzo a obeka bia man no so ya pa mo. Nti ye say aka hwan. CSUs, Bryce Simmons mo ne Imani mo, Bemboache mo, Isep, all these CSUs. Omo so a omo aye Omanpenny Kufuado next target. Just ne bota ne so be cripple all accountability institutions and public officers holders. So omo so a ene atemdidie. Omo ye politicians in CSO, omo ye thoughtless people. Yes, otimi kraka se omo nwen. CSOs no omo ko aboa oman no. O se omo nwen. They are thoughtless people. A president. I will share boss ye to abama no obebo Ghana sika ho ban. I will protect the public purse. O se ono nka bebia ni mfie duru no. Nko no de odisika ye den. Fe ni ehun ze sa akokra bi wo ho a opesika kra cha brantia. Na otimi de Ghana ye sika kakra na ye wona ensu ye di Ghana mabunu ensu face the country of no their high private jets don hwere ba ku bia £15,000 say adan a o say me pe player metimi ye dware wo mu ewowie. All these things are going on. The media for mu bebre why target Manasa num Eduardo Detinum David Tamaklomo, so many of you into why nekoka. So because of that niti omanya Chesomanya ni free and I competition, pageant show, and obi we are when you're saying, what kind PPA scandal by ABJ? Wun any more bekas on Pekasa. Sana or no dear, the oil is a or TPP or no. I was on no check contracts I had my companies, no making sure that catastrofe prohibit any no. Or no one, I would do contracts in a man who. Wa faka na situ kwanso akoton adwuma ne anyo no de agisika gu ne botom contrast nko anu waton eburudu ye kohwe na account mu sika nko an wawia 340 billion eh na me hu se yanua no me ka say e be so ma serial callers no ne social media for mo medi na tem so mo amo ka say data kra no mu ni bi mo amo ba be defend we mu data kra no mo bre ansa na mo nya bi. And say, I'm going to strike. I want to strong good. Ashanti region. Meboa. Almost your phones in a demo. And so you come and defend these thieves. The Baba we are 340 billion. Shraj Bisan as a master Zikeunya here. Not to Papa. This is the level of corruption Ekoso under Abai. This is a Ujawe now will be a free power 5 years. And now, by allegate, opposition now we have corruption allegations. Bet now by more police this soldier for will be a shower sender so sounds with allegations. Then you are very useless. Yeah, this is President Mahama say, maybe me puno. Subject me to the laws of this country. Subject me to all the laws of accountability. Because me be some of my Ghana some pa me miawe. Most me will die in Dubai away. Me will in some amuke in away. The same would rather say na moka no position na moka omo free see be so omo so ye nso omo so because Ghana for nim say sebio is that the advantage for kan e yakohwisem e no moto atoa nti abusuafo de ya kanyina ne say katajeje ne proye ntokwa ne de chese oman no adi muntwo because of a kwan aban we e de afaso sika was here de yakwan sika was here de school sika was here de asopiti sika was here de bi enwuma na sika ba krom ha sika was here de ma contractor for eno na nipa kakra bi fum yo to bi wo wa oti o so NDC and MPP we are not the same. We are not the same. NDC abroso we are 500 excavators. NDC abroso we are oil. Did we try to steal gold royalties? Did we try to appropriate or capture ECG? Did we do things? Never. NDC abroso ya party ni kura kwa ya bibi no. In the Jida case, the court says Abuga Pele one yaka preba, but one yen the jume yi no. ya ba mu oni de na ko gina court na de na ko to afiase who free say ye de no. But President Mahama had to do that to set good examples. The deputy minister ono odi ni nkomo woni fie enya ne office woni fie na waka kire obi say na damfo say me politics am me nya $1 million am jai no e be ya asem go kro ma President Mahama ka say sisika na we hwede a mintimi no nya adwuma kɔ ena agema manu Sputnik enko de je $19 so ade ayeto no $10 che say omutimu eden say even a draw cry yeto ama yare for no mudi ntwobo to so for $1 cry to so ade na $10 ye $11 and $19 ade ya che no enuro no de ba no cry and test and ye de amagana for say ye papa say nye papa obi anim so na enne Mampenyo Kufuado or the concerts or the jokes. I know ya dear CS to scarce papa and Pamon and almost I 2 weeks leave. The government is a minister be 2 weeks leave. Just say, or ye experts in covering up corruption. It is that leave. Ghana for a baby here now as was answered. But it was answered about what you will say it was short memories. Now the deep chat where COVID-19 won't seek us. Ba, I know the encounter you cry. Now what di enemy yemrashi bedwa for your ranking member honorable Minta Kando Bobeka Hwasem. Now me demand for a probe into this. And I was your point to the bini kasa ya muntie yen. To the bini kasa almost NDC for there. Enya politics as usual. Yeah, boa man no because you do man no. Says Sputnik ya anya hu deda nka munim sika ebe boyen. Ya anya hu deda until parliamentary program ayen twemu a. Nka over $24 million. Nka mbe fair dikwa. In the NDC, are we the same as them? Are we just talking because of politics? So power near penny can be trained 2024 near Saturday Kasa. But I was say oh minor, yeah, minor ye. Na ye jai chronobono. You see, so abusion for COVID-19 face mask, Veronica bucket, hand sanitizers, care. Mampenyo Kufuado say, Afia. Secondary school for ye be almost all monkono to the mawono. Just secondary schools in the grand 2,000. Ebi wa Veronica bucket ne munya mi no bi miensa. Hand sanitizer konko ba akoda bia. Face mask ni ama mi no yeso si na sanhye. Ombe bu hu ka omo se no nko ano. Omo de $100 million. Equivalent to 600 million cedis. 6 trillion omo de ato nose mask. As also the another 4 trillion out of the same nose mask ne Veronica back as ama easy for some of our registration. For now you good face mask no more than you good ne diamonds ne there your crack and bo be drusa. Enti the air can fire nyina ye ho. Na dum pempon so a e wo se nyina ye kasa no nti ne ye ni abere a ye de a hye tagia no because aye hu wan na e ka bia magana for. Okoka ye be target usisi e. Including even Asofo, they are being targeted. But yet, the Inshiranka Nyame said, we are not afraid of them. And we will continue to call them out and expose their thievery. Because indeed, they are thieves. They are prosecuting NDC former ministers and appointees. Everybody can do that. Opesi who say wo papa so be kwati akata hye ne proya. Fa wa won krofo mo bokro no ne biye den ekọ ye hu say wo sa papa. They said the President Mahama dey on one appointee score in the Jida National Service case. Even smart is Bas Brandon. Or my minister na resign as G Musike nyina ma wo man. Ye no bi ne ehwe. Ne hu say you are serious. And yes I made me opponent akoko. Wo opponent here dey o mo court so. Dey ne wo. Otan hunu kwa. Senate dey omo ye hu deda omo wi sika omo akodu Supreme Court abo asem na gu. Omo ye hu din omo fi ze Ghana fo hu ye. Na to asem na twene say omo charges no gra na nye papa. Dr. Opuni die judge wote so Court of Appeal judge o. Ne judges e wo High Court Criminal Division bitime di ase say Court of Appeal judge metena so. Omo Mampenyo Kufuado ye campaign wa Court of Appeal judge ye himfie because osanso yo hene justice onyenuga. Now, judge na ye campaign. Judge na odi opuni asem no wa ye campaign say oh, wa ye adwuma pa na me de mesre Ghana for so mo ma second term. Na judge ne da so ti opuni asem no so. Twe wo ho a o se me ntwe me ho. Judge it meets na court kase. Ono kra na ya Supreme Court judge. Nti oni adaje ma case nti o pese o ye ntem kra na owie di asem ni wie na ko focus on the Supreme Court duties. You say oni adaje ayenye beye justice there you can't sacrifice it on the altar of time. Nti wo pentem na be case no me pentem there. Ene ni die mu twe ho na judge for metena so. Eno so say da me ya na medi. Ewie kira prosecution na boni nkura wie Dr. Punini na lawyer for a submission of no case. Judge ni bua was submission of no case no. Mabogu, you have a case to answer, no problem. Nemo nkata edu nwotwe a mode ba mo tender no through prosecution witnesses aba be ka dance ya da court na nim no ho. Sa krata edu nwotwe ni nyina no e kire se Dr. Punini nya boni bia no. Mabogu enka dance no ho biem yese hearsay ti Mabogu. Hey, enka te tender prosecution witness attorney general wan ka objection. Ya tender we abeka dance yan wa yeze dia wo so Mabogu. We dey clear say we bias nti ye mpene ma wonto aso. Ya dey asem na ko Supreme Court judges innum omumu miensa say we dey ya ye nua no ye ne wa na wo Supreme Court badabraka bias na bro so untumi ntina asem no so biem titwe ho na judge for metina so. Attorney general say chinchina chin judge ya no the opeso obedi sa asem no. Ono one person selecting the referee we no pay because yes a judge na just asem the sound so costati biem ni stati biem mu a o man ne beboka emre so beko. Therefore, can we sacrifice justice and people's liberties on the altar of cost? It is the air question say even those prosecutions in the crown. We need a time hunu kwa. Yakaso mo ya kronfo no ye be force one ya timi ache ba kwa tumu a e kire se wabokro no be nshira nkanya me se oda so ti ase a onwu ye die no kre no eye dan a ebepie ye ni disa asem na chi aso mo ye o ma dwen so mbefa ka na sichi kwan so bia chinchi mumra na ye be pa o mo hontoma na ya resist all those attempts nti abusu afo ye frame a ye mama hu se President Mahama be cause why in thank you to early September Obeko Bono Ashanti region and that enclave. Obeko so akasa magana for de haye nyina obeka atemdidie ni nkontompo bia ni webetimi amanager. Ti ye hyem nkran some show for civil society organizations say mamon paba. Trust ni atemdidie ni nyina chi mamon paba. Ye ma oman ne ho do no eni anim kan. Na ye nkonkoden. Na come 2024, let's kick out these thieves. Na banfo from mra mehwehwe omunwumam omunkratamu. Na yen hold omo accountable for krono a omabo yeda munyina masesema. Thank you. Okay, so thank you very much. We will get you copies of the statement. We will share the soft copies as well, and we will see you before you go. We are grateful for coming.